Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Kuldip, and welcome to our webinar entitled Digital IT Function Transformation for Getting Back to Business. This is a follow-on webinar that myself and my colleague Sunando are conducting, where we're talking about how to digitally transform the IT function and IT department. We will be and are recording this webinar, and we'll make it available to everybody after the event, and we'll post it in the LinkedIn feed for you all to go through again if you want to look at some of the rich content that we are going to be presenting this afternoon. A warm welcome to you wherever you may be, because I know some people are distributed globally. It's about 4 o'clock in the UK and a bit cold and muggy. This afternoon, we're also going to ask you to participate in some of the things we're going to be talking about. And as we go along in the webinar, we actually actively like to encourage you all to put up questions in the chat function as you go along. And as we get to the Q&A session, we will answer those questions for you and to our fullest. And as I did say, we'll in the kind of feed, in the LinkedIn feed, we are going to be doing some surveys, and Sunando is going to be helping running those for us today, where we'll be looking for your active live participation in a few surveys. So what's the agenda for today? Well, we're just going to introduce myself, and Sunando will do that as well. The presentation with the surveys will last around approximately 50 minutes, plus or minus a few minutes, depending on how long we take to get through all the rich material that we're going to go through today. And then we'll get into a discussion and Q&A session, which hopefully lasts 15-20 minutes. We have scheduled this for an hour 15, and that's because of the surveys and the kind of the results from the survey we can discuss in the Q&A session as well. So we'll fire off and kick in. Just a way of introduction. As I said, my name is Kuldip Sandhu. I'm a digital IT transformation specialist, and I'm the managing director of a company called Innovative Quality Solutions. And we sit very much in the intersection between business and IT. And we help the IT departments and functions to transform and align with business strategy and digital strategy that the company are embarking on. I have extensive management consultancy experience, plus public and private sector experience, and have held over the last 4 or 5 years a number of quite hot senior IT leadership roles in industry. And some of the clients and some of the organizations I've worked for are, you can see on the slide there in some of the logos. Our strapline is that we can solve digital and IT transformation problems that you think can't be solved. And we're really looking forward to showcasing our content, materials, tools, and initiatives, and taking your feedback into consideration. Over to you, Sunando.
Thank you, Kuldip, and again, welcome everybody. Good afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And as you see, I'm primarily a project manager and business consultant working in the technology and digital consultancy and delivery side of things. Managed to work in multiple geographies in my past, and currently based in the UAE, working as the technology advisor with ADNEC. And my primary focus always is to work in the area which is sitting kind of in between the business and IT. So I work as a conduit between business and technology, working on technology changes and initiatives. And obviously, I'm very focused on seeing new technologies come into play and how organizations can use them in every capacity to maximize its benefits. So with that, without further ado, I'll hand it over back to Kuldip to start the session.
Thank you, Sunando, for your introduction, and delighted that you're joining me again to present to this great audience. So just to give you a snapshot of what we're going to go through, I'm going to do some context setting and talk about digital transformation during COVID and some of the technology trends that we've seen. in some of our discussions with senior IT leaders. And then we're going to ask you to get your input through a couple of surveys. I think I will then talk about technology and the IT maturity model and the 4 pillars that underpin it. And then we'll go into quite a detailed section in 5, me and Sunando, where we'll be talking about each of those pillars and some of the techniques, tools, and initiatives that you can deploy in transforming your IT department to align with the digital strategy. I'll kind of cover off the benefits of that transformation and who owns that, and round it off with some webinar key takeaways. And then we're going to ask you to feedback via a final poll, or we're asking you what you'd like to hear from us in the future. And then we'll open it up, we'll unmute you all. We'd like to answer some questions that you might have posed through the chat function as we go along. So, so to set some context, some of you might have seen my previous webinar, and I do like talking about some of this stuff. So before COVID, a lot of my discussions with senior business leaders and technology leaders were all about digital disruption. And what the essence of those discussions were, that technology adoption was increasing year on year. As you can see on the left-hand side, we've got a slide with a little picture that talks about how long it takes to get to 50 million users of the aircraft. It took 68 years, whereas more recently, it took 2 years to get to 50 million users of the Twitter. And for the Pokemon Go game, it took 19 days. So there's been a rapid adoption of technology. And we can see that from all our daily lives in the workplace and through social media. On the far right-hand side, you can see Martech's law, which talks about technology changes and that exponential rate of increase, whereas organizations have typically failed in keeping pace with that change. Where they do change, but they change at a logarithmic rate. And that causes that gap between the slow and fast change, and the organizations then want to pivot themselves to reset in terms of that change. And what we've seen in some of our experiences as we work with clients across sectors is that cultivating a high-performing agile organization requires 6 steps. And we're not going to cover those in great detail in this webinar, but just to tell you that it's very key about getting the organizational design right. The organizational design and the values really imbibe the culture of the organization. And it's very important to have a vision, strategy, and structure that management and leadership are passionate about, and that get the people engagement to bring around the change that we're looking at. On top of that, there's also very important to get the right ways of working, from agile to DevOps to product backlog management, to ensure that you're delivering your products and services in a lean, agile way. And obviously, there's got to be some level of governance and funding to support a digital organization. Now, those are very much the conversations I was having pre-COVID. And I think those conversations continue, but I think the conversations that we need to be now thinking about is how we're going to realign our business model. And I wanted to get to the core of what digital means. Digital really means about reinventing your business model. And what I mean about reinventing a business model is really thinking about what your strategy and your vision is, and then thinking about your future competencies and capabilities to achieve your goals and your strategic vision, to develop your products and services that you service your customers. And I think what COVID-19 has done has accelerated the pace of change, on top of already the accelerated digital disruption that we were seeing in sectors as a digital native might come into your sector, grab your market share, and actually disrupt you. Now what COVID-19 has done for many sectors has forced that the increased pace of digital transformation. A couple of examples. One, I've been working in the events industry very closely to Sunando, and what we've seen in the events industry is the move to hybrid events, where now marketing and sales staff are creating digital content at a faster pace to service online streaming events. We've also seen IT departments over the last 4 or 5 months rapidly help the staff work remotely through a digital workplace transformation. And it's been a great great plus point for IT as they deploy laptops in a secure, agile way at pace, and adapting and learning as we've been going along. So that digital disruption is only just accelerated through COVID-19, whilst we still must be cognizant of the cost pressures that organizations are going to be in certain sectors when they're trying to manage the impact socially on people as we go forward. And I think the last point I'd like to make on the digital side there is that during the financial crisis in 2008, when I was working in the banking sector, what I really saw was the organizations that were able to adapt quickly in the marketplace and innovate are the ones that seem to succeed in the longer term and survived. So what does that really mean from a digital perspective? Well, I've already told you this. COVID-19 came in and it caused that accelerated digital transformation. So what does that kind of wrap up into? What does that mean from a digital transformation point of view? So I like to define it because there's a lot of definitions out in the marketplace, and this is my particular one that I've come to, and it seems to resonate with a lot of the clients that I've worked with. And really, I think the battleground around digital transformation is how you reinvent your business model so that you can enhance your customer experience and your journey to enable growth or aid the efficiency that you're looking for in your business to ensure that your products and service add value to your end user and customer. Excuse me. And a key point here is that digital transformation isn't about technology. Technology is the enabler or the business driver, and it can give you competitive advantage and differentiation within your organization or your institution. And it's how you leverage that to give you that value. So what does that mean for the new world? Well, we've got all these trends. We've got digital, reinventing your business model, Internet of Things, machine learning, data science, robotics, big data, on-demand cloud computing, cybersecurity is key, and that all causes pressure and impact on your business. And I think the message I'm trying to bring across here, as I've defined digital in the context of enhancing your customer experience and using technology as an enabler, you need to get your IT department or your IT function fit for purpose to meet that business strategy, and be that around digital enablement. And I think one of the biggest things I've seen in my senior leadership roles in IT is getting IT aligned to the business in an iterative way, so that they're delivering on the projects and programs and products and services that the business desire, so that they can enhance customer experience. And what we're going to be talking about as we go through the presentation is how we go about transforming the IT department to get it to fit into the digital context that I've now set. And I've put here is about, just to reinforce the message, digital transformation is reinventing your business model and using technology innovation at pace to give you that competitive advantage. With that said, I'm going to just summarize some of the things in this next slide that we've grabbed from our previous webinars. And hopefully, as I said, this is a series of webinars, and what we were talking about in the previous webinars, as we've got into now the subject around transforming the IT function, we need to understand the technology trends that are emerging in the marketplace or are here as we transform our IT department so it aligns to the digital business strategy. I think there are going to be pressures around investment in technology, and we need to make sure that we're investing in the right areas with prudent investments, because there will be budget shortfalls, and we need to make sure we're eliminating any core spend. I think technology adoption is the norm now. There's no option of going back, and we need to think about how we can bring agility into IT and agility into the business around adopting the new initiatives aligned to the business, and doing that in an iterative, agile way to enhance service delivery, and bringing in innovation focused on the overall agenda of the business. And I think there's a momentum that technology and the IT function can now capitalize on from the great work that we've done in kind of getting everybody to work remotely and addressing those challenges. And I will obviously go into the IT function, which IT maturity model, where we talk in detail about some of the pillars it talks about. But as you can see on the right hand side here, we've got some of technology trends. And this is some research that was carried out in early April by HFS Research, looking across a sample size of senior IT leaders and CIOs. And we were just asking them what areas in IT initiatives will increase, stay the same, or decrease. And as you can hopefully see there, cybersecurity is a big issue, robotic process automation for efficiency, data smart analytics is going to increase. There's the move to hybrid cloud, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, 5G, and as you go along. What we'd like to, I just want to show you that, because hopefully we're going to now move on to a couple of surveys to get your input as people in the marketplace working in your organizations, to get a view of what you think those trends are. And before we go into the IT maturity model, and I'll hand over to Sunando to take us through that exercise.
Thank you, Kuldip. I think as Kuldip highlighted, he introduced us to the digital and technology trends. I think it's time we get some feedback from yourselves, and that's why what we would like to do is we'd like to do two quick questions with yourselves on the technology trends, and also on your expectations as senior people working in the IT functions. So what I request all of you is to, if you can kindly open slido.com on any device that you're using at this point in time, and the event code which is mentioned. I'm also sending the link on the chat if you want to use the link directly by clicking onto it, because if you have logged in on Zoom, so I'm sure you have an internet connectivity. So on any device that you are there, I would request you to go into slido.com with this event code, and you should be able to see the our seminars heading at the top of. So you can also use your mobile phones and use the QR code, which you can see on the screen, and it would directly take you to the survey. So I'll give maybe 20-25 seconds for people to join in on the survey, and then I'll launch the first question. If anybody is struggling, just drop a note on the chat window, and I'm monitoring. I can help you.
And as everybody logs on to slido.com, what I'm going to do is we'll take us to the results once Sunando has posed the questions, and you'll be able to see the results live.
Yeah, absolutely.
So shall we give it another 5 seconds before I switch to?
Another, yeah.
Okay, I'm now going to go to slido.com, to the site, which hopefully you're all in, and we'll take it from there. Can you see this screen, everybody, and Sunando?
I can see it, yes, it's there. So what I'll do now is the next 5 seconds, I'll launch the first question, and please feel free to take your time to respond to that. We can do 30-40 seconds just to get your answers. So I'm launching the first question now, and once you log in, you would see the Q&A page and the live polls page. So I would request you to go to the polls page. Yeah. So as Kuldip is doing on the screen, you can see it live. So you should be able to see the question coming in now. So the question as posted, as you can see, as a technology IT professional, how do you see your technology strategy changing in the coming months? So it's a multiple choice question. I suggest feel free to go ahead and answer as many as you think are appropriate, and you would be able to see the answers, the results live on Kuldip's window as they come in.
And I'm going to answer this question in the context of one of my existing clients or a couple of my clients, and I know what they're trying to do. So to prompt the participation. And as Sunando says, if you have any trouble or you can't see this, you're not in Slido, or you can't answer the question, just let us know.
Yeah. Anybody having any difficulty, just drop on the chat window and I'll be able to pick it up. I can see around 13 odd people on the survey, 15 now, 16. Yeah. I hope everybody can get there. We have around 30 odd people on the webinar today, so that would be a very good response. As you can see, yeah, the responses are coming in. That's great.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Keep on
Voting. Yes, please. So, because these questions would really help us to have our discussion during the Q&A session, and I'm sure you can read as you read through the various options that we have put in, and if you think there can be some other options, feel free to post it on the chat or on the Q&A, which is next to the live polls on the Slido. So just give another 10 seconds, maybe. We've got 20 responses. Anybody else can?
While we have that time, Sunando, as you can see, the most popular one so far is retain the existing technologies, but think of some new initiatives to support the business with some quick wins. That's only sensible because everybody wants to tap into new ways of working or new efficiency gains rapidly, which is secondly, it's second most popular is revisit existing strategy, incorporating new ways to do business, which is also a very sensible approach as well. The most least popular, which is important, is to continue as is and not to look at reorganizing your landscape, which is also a good data point.
Absolutely, and I think that's a perfect answer, which kind of, I think, exactly corroborates with what you just explained, Kuldip, while you were discussing about the way things have been moving in the last few months.
That's right. We can't stand still. Technology evolves every day, and we need to continue to think about new initiatives and how we can optimize the way we work supporting business. Back to you, Sandhu.
So I would, on the count of 5, really, I'll now move to the next question. I think the rest of whatever 10, 12 people don't want to respond or are finding it difficult, I reckon.
Please don't feel shy. Even if you're not in the IT world, if you're a business consultant or business leader or sort of quite far away from IT, it's still good to get your perspective on what IT should be doing. So we would appreciate that input. So
I think I'll move to the next question, which is on the tools and techniques. Again, something that Kuldip touched upon in his previous slide. So I'm going to deactivate this poll, and I'll go ahead and launch the new one, which is on the tools and techniques. So the second question should now come up on your screens. And as the question says, based on the current COVID-19 pandemic situation, which of the following solutions are you likely to recommend to your CEOs, CFOs, COOs, or existing management level, depending on whichever organization you work on? So again, I'd like to people to please vote, and we can see the results coming up on Kuldip's screen straight away.
Oh, so early leaders there. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
This is so revealing.
And I'm hoping this is also this is a good indicator on the subjects that we are going to discuss in the subsequent slides. And really, maybe some of you might not be aware of certain technologies or have not used them in the past. And I hope in the next section when we'll be talking about the um, uh, on the transformation and the pillars, I think we'll be touching on quite a few of these, which should give you some more insights. And it might be interesting, Kuldip, to run the same survey at the end of the session, if
Yeah,
we
yes. Yeah, if we have
if time
time,
permits. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. We have time to do that. We will get back into the survey. But it looks like there's 22 live people. Um, let's give it
23.
another 10 seconds, shall we?
Yes, 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 sure, sure.
Again, just to highlight, infrastructure and application optimization is at the top, closely followed by cloud migration. While infrastructure and cloud go hand in hand, so I'm really not surprised by that, and I'm delighted to see the RPA projects, and I'm also delighted to see the agile DevOps stuff as well. A bit further down the bottom is supplier consolidation. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I think one of the other things, Sunanda, maybe we do have if we have missed an initiative, or you think a technique or a tool or a technology trend, please tell us in the chat function.
Correct. Please use either chat function, which is on the Zoom that you're connected on, or on the Q&A, which you see right next to the polls. And we would be happy to pick that up. Also, if you have any questions on any of these, feel free to add them in as well. So whilst we talk about some of the technologies as we go on, I think we can try and answer some of your queries as well. So shall we now stop the poll and I think move on?
Yeah, I'll move back into the slideshow. Just a very big thank you for everybody on that. Sunanda, could you tell me if you can see the slide pack again?
I can. On the first slide at the moment, so you need to go back to.
Yeah. Just give me a second. Okay, so what we'll do now is firstly thank you for those survey results. We'll come back to those in the Q&A session because we've got another question to ask you at the end, and we can have a discussion around those and also any questions that come in. But there's quite a lot of great inputs that you've provided us with, and what I'm going to do now is present to you and the IT maturity model, and actually without knowing what you would say, a lot of the things that you have put high up on the agenda in the technology trends and in the technology strategy are things that we're going to now talk about. So the IT maturity model here is a framework that we've developed over the years, and what it does, it looks at a number of dimensions of strategy, structure, process, people and capability, technology and data, technology meaning applications and underlying infrastructure. And there's a number of levels of maturity, from being IT-centric and ad hoc to be operationally focused, to getting IT to be managed as a business, and then actually becoming a value or business driver and integrated within the business so that it provides excellent IT excellence and digital excellence. I've used this model and a number of engagements and clients, and really it's great because it allows the organization to understand where they are, and that's what I've defined in the current state. Or importantly, it also allows them to understand where they might want to get to in the future, and that journey from that current state to that future state, bridging that gap, you can typically develop a roadmap and a strategy. And that roadmap and that strategy for transforming the IT department requires some level of consolidation, rationalization, optimization, and then getting to become agile. And what we're going to do now is talk about some of the pillars that underpin this model, and then we're going to talk about the initiatives. And I am hopefully you'll be pleasantly be surprised in how closely the initiatives that we are going to talk about match the results of what you've told us. So the four pillars that underpin the IT maturity model for IT transformation are managing out complexity, bringing in agility into IT and the enterprise, managing in innovation, and continually providing IT value and outcomes for the business. So what does managing out complexity mean? Getting rid of your legacy IT and your technical debt, moving to a cloud environment, decoupling it, putting in open APIs. Agility to me is about how you develop ways of working so that you can bring in more changes in a faster way, in a smaller, more visible way, in an agile way with the business, so they see incremental value. And then you use DevOps as a culture to create a CI/CD automated pipeline of value streams. And innovation, well, innovation is so important because the CIO these days is being asked to do more with less. And what we need to do is bring in innovation around inefficiency, so it releases the CIO and his team to spend more time on innovation, looking at what new technologies, which are coming at a rapid pace, I should say, we can bring into the organization to enhance products and features and services to the customers. And value management is all for me around business outcomes. What we're going to do is explore in each of these four pillars some initiatives that you can go away with and use in your environments. The context for the four pillars that we're going to talk about, we're going to make sure that they align with your customer needs, they connect with customer networks. It's all about ensuring that you become competitive and differentiated in the marketplace. You leverage data as an asset. You are streamlining your IT operations, and you're demonstrating value outcomes. There's a couple of frameworks that we have captured from Gartner, which you can take away with you and absorb at your own time. We haven't got time in this webinar to go in detail on these frameworks, but therefore we'll share the links with you so that you can absorb them at your own time. So I'm going to move quickly into the first pillar. The first pillar was complexity. So how do you drive out complexity? So funny enough, the first one is application and infrastructure rationalization. It was the top one, and it's the first one that's appeared. So great to be aligned with our audience here today. I do absolutely think to reduce cost, bring efficiency, you can reduce your application landscape. You can move to the cloud. Organizations pre and post-COVID are moving to a multi-cloud environments where they got a hybrid model of private and public service offerings. Cloud adoption is on the increase. The data that you can see on the slide demonstrates the increase in volume of clients that will be moving to cloud, and the pace of cloud adoption is increasing. It also, I think, if you can get rid of some of our legacy and technical IT debt, that also helps, and that's moving to, and we'll talk about that in a bit. The only challenge with cloud, one of the challenges I've always had, is that there's Amazon, there's AWS, and there's GCP, and there's Nutanix. There's various cloud providers. We've just got to make sure that you're able to have open APIs between those various cloud offerings so that you can capture data and master that data so you can get intelligence and insight out of it. That's one of the challenges, I would say. And I think one of the other things that we need to think about is how we organize our organizations, so we're breaking down hierarchical silos. Again, that can really help in the collaboration and communication and help reduce complexity in what we deliver. Product engineering is really important. We used to talk about projects and programs. I think now the mantra really is to think about platforms, products and services that are built on platforms, and thinking about shorter, agile capability development life cycles where you're using design thinking and building functions and features in a stable, secure way, and so that it's with constant feedback, so you're absolutely aligned with what the needs of your end users and customers are. You also need to build that on an agile, scalable, cloud-based, microservice, container-based infrastructure, but it's now, that is the trend, and that's another way of reducing some of the complexity. Moving quickly on to pillar 2. Remember, pillar 1 was about complexity, pillar 2 was about agility. And IQS, my organization, we've just developed a maturity model around Biz DevSecOps. Biz, business, development, security, operations. It's a way of working. It's a cultural way of breaking silos between development and operations and the business, so that we work not vertically in silos, but we work horizontally across products and services, and we reduce toil and waste, and we automate our development life cycles, and we release incrementally and use automation. And that is, as you can see from the slide, there's a massive trend, a tripling of DevOps software market by 2023. How do you do that? Again, we haven't got a full webinar time to go through this in great detail on this webinar. I think what we are going to do is probably have a separate webinar for Biz DevSecOps in the future. But in essence, you need to have your various application platform and legacy teams working in a horizontal way with all the stakeholders and actors involved, including your infrastructure people, your development people, your data people, your enterprise apps, so that they're all involved in the value stream management and mapping and automation of your pipeline, so that you're bringing around that agility. And the best way, our experience of doing that, pick an IT service, value map it, optimize it, reduce the interactions and the time between the flow or activities, and slowly demonstrate the value, the success, and then bring other services on. And this slide, what this slide is just trying to show you, that change now isn't done in a big bang way. It does incrementally pick a service, optimize it, think about the next service, bring in that culture, and incrementally take the organization on the cultural change and agility journey. I'm going to now move on to pillar 3, which is going to be done by Sunando. Over to Sunando.
Thank you, Kuldip, again. And as I think Kuldip already highlighted, there are a couple of things, you know, we can, they're all linked together. And for moving into a digital journey or a digital, maturity for any organizations, I think we can't look at any of these pillars in silos. So all the pillars need to be tackled together. And so the innovation, which is the third pillar, I think this is the most commonly used term. If you see nowadays in the technology space, every company is talking about innovation. You talk to anybody in senior management, you talk to anybody in the business side, on the strategy side, everybody is talking about innovation. And we keep hearing about innovation, and who's supposed to expect it to drive it? It's most of the time the CIO or the IT department, the functions, they have to drive it. That's what the business expects. So how can, in this COVID situation, which Kuldip already highlighted, that we have challenges with funds, we have maybe resources. So with this all, with the current situation, how do we still innovate and move forward? And I have to apologize, when we did the survey, I should have, there are people from the business, and I should have, that's the question on the chat, what is RPA? And I should have explained it during the, and I think that's why some of you couldn't, maybe did not select it because you were not aware of what an RPA is. So RPA, to be honest, is as it says, it's robotic process automation. It's kind of software robots you can think of, not the ones which roam around and walk around, not those ones. These are software robots, and these can really do miracles. So this is one of the innovation techniques, I think, as technology function, people should really try and adopt it, because they can really quickly innovate fairly low expense solution, can be implemented in large volumes. Benefits are significant. Some of the tools that we can use, most commonly in within the tech area, they are called bots. Again, I'll not get into terminologies. The RPA, the work it they are smart bots, cognitive bots. So we can use RPA. So yeah, I'll just give you a simple example. We do execs sign financial statements. Every organization, it's the same thing. Financial statements are signed by the execs. However, the execs actually have not prepared it. They just sign it. And there's an army of ERP consultants or IT function people who are sitting behind finance, IT, etc., who are actually preparing these statements. So there's an opportunity of error that keeps coming in. And that's where things like RPA can completely minimize 99% of the efforts. And it's a very easy way to innovate. I would really request, and it's not a session on RPA, so I'm not going to go any more on that. I would really suggest you can go in and search on the Google. There are some companies like Heineken who have really done amazing work with, they started with one process and now they have a separate division only for RPA. Similarly, closer to Asia, there's a company called Mass Holdings. They're a $2 billion company with business in 16 countries. So they managed to use simple RPA tools by reducing 1,000 man days every month. So that's a significant amount of saving. And they started just with a POC with one of the providers. So there are many business cases. I would suggest go in and have a read. And again, if we really want to go ahead and do a session detailed on RPA or any of the other tools, we can do it later. So as you see, 65% of the global CIOs are considered as entrepreneur leaders, and that's why innovation is becoming key. So what I really suggest is we can look at these tools. IoT is the next one. So again, it's something that can be used easily, which is already there within your building, your office, and you can, as IT functions, you can show benefits without doing large investments. Large companies are using IoT to benefit simple solutions. Now look at your business transactions, how business can benefit out of that. Siemens, one of the large organizations, is using IoT extensively. Daimler, you're one of the car manufacturers in the US. Most of you have heard the name. They launched a platform called Cars to Go using IoT as a solution. So there are, and I think the picture depicts it very well. The bottom right-hand corner, if you look at, IoT can connect everything. I mean, most of us drive cars now, which are pretty much IoT managed. So again, if you look within your organizations, there are too many opportunities, small opportunities, without investing a lot of money, that can be done on IoT projects. Kuldip, if you move to the next slide, please. So the other one is AI and machine learning. I mean, AI has multiple components: machine learning, NLP, natural language processing, etc. However, what we're talking about is AI. Again, I'm looking at small innovative products. I'm not saying something big bang. Look at small innovative products, use cases that are within your organization where machine learning can be used, AI techniques can be used. And what we are showing here also on the slide on the right side is a very simple roadmap which has been created by Accenture, as you can see. And I'm not going to go through the roadmap, but it's a very simple tool, and any organization can actually follow this tool and deliver benefits to the organization. What I mean, things like, I'll give you another example. eBay is a very good example. Again, you can go in Google and read about them. eBay has used extensively machine learning to increase their content marketing. I think every organization where we work in, content marketing is a function. And we can look at these small use cases and see, without large investments, but using the right tools for the right use cases, and bring in very fast innovation and be agile, which I think Kuldip highlighted multiple times during the previous slides that he was talking about. We need to change, and that's why I like this. We would like to leave you with this, the journey map, the Accenture map, because it gives you a approach, an agile approach, where you can go back, check, and come back and again, do things in the right way. So with this, I'll move to the fourth pillar, which is value. I think every organization, I think this is what every organization wants: value to be delivered. And how do we do value delivery? I think there are, as the slide says, we focus on the outcomes, the benefit realization, and then we'll also discuss about some techniques, how we can do, look at outside in and inside out to deliver value to the organization. I mean, if you look at the bottom left hand corner, the methodology that's there for business outcome, that's a very simple tool to actually deliver business value within your organization. So if you look at opportunities where your customer is actually the touch points that customer have, and then start looking at moving through the journey, I think the organization will start seeing the value. Something that a lot of people get confused, which is which this slide is showing, is they confuse between output and outcomes. And I think we as technology professionals, and even from the business, I think we need to start looking at outcomes. Yes, outputs will deliver the outcomes. So the outcomes are the long-term benefits that the organization will get. And that's what the benefit realization effectively talks about. So you do the deliverables, which are the outputs, and you look at the outcomes, what are the real long-term benefits that are coming in. And automatically, once you start looking at them, identify the outcomes and start looking at the various customer journeys, you will start seeing the impact which the business would start seeing straight away. So that's what is this slide is looking at. So I'll go a little bit deeper in the next slide on benefits realization. Kuldip, if you can move to the next one. So it's another a simple tool that I'd like to for everybody to take a look at, which is again, yeah, we always talk about people, process, technology, and it's pretty much the same thing. This is something from Gartner, which says the building blocks of digital workplace. And if you see it very well shows, it's kind of, you read it bottoms up. So it talks about technology is your base, which really is you create things like data lake, you're creating things like the tools and techniques we spoke about, cloud analytics, etc., AI. So all these are at the base. And what you do is then you start aligning this with the business objective, the strategy. And the important element here is the people and the process, which is the middle section. So unless you start touching the people by delivering value, it would not really be considered as something that is actually benefiting the company. So again, I think this the model works very well, and it can be seen very clearly that if we combine the people and the process with technology, automatically the business alignment would work, where results will be shown through metrics and other tools and techniques that are put in place. With this, I'll move to the last element, which is outside in. Why outside in? Because I think more and more, there used to be a time when IT functions primarily used to do things and then introduce it to the business, and the business would then uh, either accept it, not accept it, keep it on the side. And as most of you know, in the past, a lot of ERP projects were considered failures because a lot of organizations did ERP. The IT did the ERP without really thinking about the customer journey or thinking about what is the outcomes, what we were just discussing. So that's what this model actually gives you a demonstration of how you should do an outside in. So you start looking at high level process mapping, create the customer journeys, the customer personas, identify the touch points in each customer persona. How does it touch the technology function or the technology outputs? Once we can do that, and I think again, I'm referring back to Kuldip mentioned and gave an example from the events industry about changing the entire customer journey. And not only the events industry, I think many organizations have done a pivot and changed their entire customer journey because due to the COVID situation. So define the customer journey and the personas, the touch points, and then identify the opportunities where technology, innovation, and agility can really deliver value. So those, albeit they might be small, but I think the value would be considered high because they are actually targeting the right points of the customer journey. So it's again, it's an iterative process. You do a top down, as you see on the left side, but the important thing is being agile and always do that feedback loop, which is reflected on the right side. So you keep constantly recorrecting yourself or revalidating and realigning. So with that, I think that's the important element. And if we do that, I think we'll definitely, the business will see IT's value and technology's value to the organizations. With this, I'll hand it back to Kuldip to kind of wrap up the session and bring it all together. Kuldip, over to you.
Thank you, Sunando. I'm going to try to bring this all together under the kind of roadmap, benefits, and who owns this. So if you remember, if we recall, we started today's webinar where I kind of gave a definition and an overview of what digital disruption is, how the rapid pace of technology is, and the COVID, the impact of COVID, the pandemic has accelerated digital transformation in many organizations. To leverage and get the value from that transformation, we need to get IT fit for purpose. We talked about technology trends and we got your input. We've articulated to and shown you an IT maturity model that you can use for understanding where you are today, where you want to get to, and developing a roadmap and strategy. And underpinning that IT maturity model are 4 pillars: complexity, agility, innovation, and value. And we've shown you a number of tools, techniques, and initiatives that you can apply, which allow you to go on that transformational journey for your IT department as you move from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 to 4 and 5. You don't have to get to level 5. You might want to get to level 3 because that's what your return investment and your maturity that you feel that you will get maximum value for your products and services to your customers. But the model allows you to determine where you are, where you want to get to, whatever that level is. But as you go up that maturity curve, you can demonstrate value, the total cost of IT, and the value of the outcomes that you're achieving because you're aligned to the business. You become aligned to the business. You put in the processes and controls, and you're managing risk because you're doing things in a more iterative, agile way. So you're bringing certainty and visibility to the business about the initiatives that you deploy. And as you go up that maturity model, you're becoming more effective and efficient. Therefore, you can optimize your resource profile and you bring in the agility. And what I'm going to show you now is a roadmap that you can go on, where you go from a low maturity to a high maturity. And what you can see, if you start on the left-hand side there, you might have multiple systems and infrastructure, complex architecture, non-standard, multiple locations, and a head count. As you go from left to right with time, you're reducing complexity, you're standardizing on processes, you're rationalizing application suites and your infrastructure, you're harmonizing the workflows, reducing the number of locations. The digital workplace transformation that we've gone through, I think that will have a massive impact on a number of locations. There might well be a headquarters, but there might not be many hubs now. A hub and spoke model for locations. Buildings will become redundant in many cities. So again, there's a cost saving there. There's and as you go to the far right hand side, you're constantly optimizing your IT department as you move forward. So who owns this? Who owns the IT change? Who owns IT transformation to fit in with the digital agenda? Well, it's the IT leaders. They are the leaders that set the direction, the strategy, and the vision for the department. They build the strategy. They need to empower the staff with the tools, the skills, the initiatives, and take them on that iterative change journey. What I show on this slide on the far right hand side is, I think the new norm is for this future CIO and IT leadership to be involved in the corporate or business digital strategy. They should be driving it, enabling it for digital transformation. They bring in the innovation, they provide the analytics and the performance, they bring in the DevOps agile cultures to show the business how to value optimize IT services and products. That doesn't mean IT doesn't do all the legacy stuff. It still has to do BAU. It still has to manage your infrastructure. It still has to have a refresh network. It needs to have Wi-Fi in place, all those solutions, but they can be done by IT operations. But this transformation really needs to be owned by those IT leaders, and they need to be given the room and the authority to go and bring about the change. So I'm going to wrap up before we go back into a poll and go back on the surveys, because I really enjoyed the feedback we've got so far. So I'm just going to skim read through some of the key takeaways. I think as we move back to business, as we unlock, IT investments are going to be scrutinized, and there's going to be business cases that are going to have to demonstrate value around effectiveness, efficiency, and growth and compliance. Business cases will dominate. Please reach out to me if you want to talk to me about the IT maturity model, because I think that's a great tool for you to use for mapping out your IT transformation journey to support digital change. And you can use that to develop your path and your direction forward. The 4 pillars, again, that underpin that: complexity, agility, innovation, and business value. There's a whole plethora of initiatives and trends, and we've gone through, me and Sunando have gone through a few of those. We talked about biz dev, SecOps, cloud, systems rationalization, machine learning, RPA. Apologies for the business folk. We should have spelt that out so everybody knew what RPA stood for, IoT. And importantly, let's focus on what the business want, not what IT and pet projects for IT. Let's build on the momentum from the workplace transformation that we've gone through, and IT take the lead. Let's also become a digital partner and integrator with the business, and continue to show our value and demonstrate our outcomes from bringing around that cultural change. With that said, over to you, Sunando, to go back into the poll.
Yeah, thank you, Kuldip. So we would do one more question now that we've kind of come to the end of our session, and we'll do question answers. So what I suggest is, if you can, the people who had already gone on to slido.com and the event code, please stay there. I will put another question there. I will ask for people who might have joined a bit late, I'll try to put the link one more time for you, so that you can use the link from the chat window. Otherwise, you can just use your mobile phones and you know, just click, take a picture of the QR code. So all the options are there. I've put the link in case somebody wants to use the link from their laptops or mobile phones on the chat window. Yeah, and
shall I switch to Slido?
I think yes, if you can switch to the Slido window. Yeah, we have some questions also. I can see we'll come to the questions now, and feel free to ask your questions. I would request you to now go to the poll page, and I'm going to launch the last question for today. Yep, I have it now. So this is more on we're looking at the future. You should be able to see the question come up now. What topics would you like to, as Kuldip at the beginning of the session, he mentioned this is our third session that we are doing together, and we've tried to cover subjects that are you know, that have been discussed, and as we move on, we try to bring in new subjects and new topics. So we put in a few things that we might we'll like to see people respond, and so we can have a follow-up session or a more detailed session based on our next session that we can plan. So if if you see if the last point, which is anything else other than the above, please use the Q&A section and put your comments. Even we are happy to you know, something completely outside, and we can come back to you with I hope it would be more interesting to you. So yeah, I think we've got around 13 responses coming in. So
okay, let me.
We'll be happy to see the responses. So interestingly, RPA is
is high up in the agenda.
Absolutely, and I'm really happy that it is.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Please continue to. Digital transformation. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So it's a hobby horse of mine. Digital transformation is not well explained, and it means many things to many people. So I can see why that would be a topic. RPA, absolutely, because robotic process automation can give significant efficiency gains. We can definitely think about that. AI and machine learning, I do understand why that's the bottom. It's an emerging thing,
yeah,
and misunderstood by many people. Okay. And you know, please, if you think there's something else above and beyond this list that you might want us to talk about and present on, please do let us know as well.
I think I've got again the same question on the Q&A. Kuldip, if you move to the Q&A, yeah. What is RPA? I don't know. Maybe the person who is anonymous, so I don't know who the person is. But RPA, we kind of touched upon it. It's robotic process automation. We'll be happy to go through in some more detail in subsequent sessions. So we'll I don't know. Do you want to take these questions maybe first before we?
Yeah. I'll take the question. I am already planning, and I'm sure Sunando will support me on this one, and to do a webinar on biz DevSecOps. I touched upon it. It's something that I think is a red hot topic, and it needs to be understood better. I just did a presentation to a client on this area, linking IT service management with Agile and DevOps. I would just watch this space, basically. You will definitely take that one. That's Krishnan. Krishnan, definitely we will take that on board. as a topic for the future. RPA, it's top of the rank. We need to think about the presentation for RPA. And obviously there's a question from Kushik as well. Would you want to take that one? It's how productive is my workforce when they are working remotely from home? Hence, organizations look at solution techniques to track this aspect. Yes.
I think, Kaushik, definitely there are tools and techniques to track these. But again, I don't think we are looking at, policing anybody. That's not the objective, but really ensure that people remote working is still delivering value. And I think that's if we start looking at the outputs in that way, I think there are multiple ways we can work and find out if really people are delivering what they are expected to deliver. If we are talking about, again, we depends on which level of work we are talking about. If we are talking really about a transaction processing kind of work, believe me, RPA is a fantastic tool to not only look at if people are delivering work, actually to get the work done in a much faster and innovative way. So again, I don't want to give a solution because it's an open-ended question. I'm sure there's something more, but Kuldip, if you would like to add.
I'm going to market myself here. I've just been writing a paper on this, Kushik, and I can share it with you. I think we're in this new world, which is about getting a balance between home working and office working. We as managers and leaders need to manage in a different way, so that we can continue to get the productivity and the engagement from the workforce. So what I mean by that is we've got to ensure that people don't feel excluded. They still feel part of the organization. They don't feel that others are getting preferential treatment if they don't come into the office, and they're still part of the promotion cycle. And, all those things require a different kind of engagement from managers and leaders. So, before, if you had your staff around you in the office, you could see what was going on, who was working on what. You could tap somebody on the shoulder. You could have your little pet discussions and things would happen. With working remotely, you need to be checking in with your staff. You need to ensure that there's quarterly, yearly check-in, and quarterly and yearly town halls maybe, but weekly team meetings, huddles, where people can talk about things where they are worried about their aspects of their work. So they need to have safe environments. You need to have team environments. They need to still feel they understand where the function department's going. They still need a place to go where there could be a headquarters and a hub. They don't need to maybe go to headquarters every week, but they can go to a hub where they feel engaged in the organization, because otherwise what you're going to end up is disfranchisation and that person not feeling part of the culture of the organization. It's a huge topic. It's a huge area of consideration, and it requires tools, techniques, surveys, and people engagement. Our leaders really need to think hard about balancing cost, culture, and productivity in this space.
I've heard, just to add, it's something occurred to me, Kuldip, while you were talking. I've heard organizations, one of the large food chain, and I think they do milk products, cheese, etc. I think they're based in the Nordic region primarily. I'll not name them. They've brought in really innovative ways to keep people engaged by having weekly activities. So this week can be a steps challenge and things like that. So simple tools, nothing to do with work. However, people are engaged, people talk to each other, share their, how much they walked in a day and things like that. And end of the week, you have a winner. So it's actually something that you were touching upon.
Yeah, absolutely. Because people are getting Zoomed out or Microsoft Teamed out what they want is time to de-stress from those calls, to go into a safe environment, maybe talk to their teammates or their manager, to get a few things off their chest. And one of the biggest challenges when you're working remotely in a team is, how do you onboard a new person? It's so difficult. It's a much more difficult challenge when you're working remotely, and bringing somebody into the culture and the way of working in your team, your function. So it requires a redefining of working practices and leadership styles. You can't manage through watching people anymore. It's about engaging your workforce and making sure they understand how they fit in and so forth. I was going to, Sunando, if you don't mind, if I unmute people to see if there's any questions that anybody has.
I'm just checking the chat window as well, just in case we've missed anything.
Because we're getting close to an hour 15 as well.
Yes.
So can you explain some architecture now? Yeah.
So that was Mohammed. Could you just repeat the question, please?
Mohammed, we cannot hear you. Maybe if you would put it on the chat.
Ah, there we go.
Here, there you go.
Process. Ooh. Yeah, so that's an interesting, that's a tough one, because government agencies will have their own methods and procedures and quality control checks, and how you ensure that you're compliant with that is a difficult one. There's probably are some technology solutions out there that maybe you can use, but I think it will be dependent on the client, to work with the client. I don't know if you have anything, Mohammed, that you can share with us, because it's a very difficult, well, if you're trying to check for compliance to GDPR or any particular government standard, and it's really requires.
Yeah, I don't know, Mohammed, I fully understand your question, but
you will connect the screen. You only want, what is the data point there you will connect to the screen, and how the continuity will happen. You want a Wi-Fi signal inside the cabin, you will work on that, or you want hardline connection, like a fiber optic cable connection.
Unfortunately, I can't hear Mohammed very well. So what I was going to do is maybe we could take that offline with Mohammed.
Yes. Mohammed, feel free to,
Fiber is necessary because it is 350 meters away. The elevator cab and the machine room, there's a distance of.
I think the person JJ, I think maybe he's on a separate conversation.
Yeah.
Kuldip, if you can mute him, maybe.
Yeah, okay. JJ, can you hear us? I think what I'm going to suggest is, Sunando, if you want to pick up that question with Mohammed.
Separately. I will do that, definitely. I will do that. Mohammed, I'll be in touch with you, and hopefully we should be able to answer your question and understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. And what I'll do now is we've gone over an hour 15. What I'd like to do is we will obviously put the recording of the webinar up in the LinkedIn feed. We'll get that out very quickly, and we'll also I think we're going to find some way of getting the results out to everybody who attended, and the others that couldn't make it, we share that for the recording. But I think that's really, really useful feedback for us. I am pleasantly surprised how well we aligned our content with what we saw, and that's a thank you for that. I just want to just finally thank you all for your time, for staying on a bit longer, and for your participation. And Sunando, do you want to say anything?
No, again, thank you very much. Would you, Kuldip, just go back to the slide so that our contact details are for everybody to
Yes,
see?
yes. I just wanted to make
And
sure.
yeah, so while Kuldip gets our contact details, what I would really like to say is I'm really, as Kuldip said, I think we are pleasantly surprised that our content was aligned, which is great. And we'll again like to thank you for taking time on a busy work day and being with us for an hour and 15 minutes. We'll be happy to take any further questions. Our details are here on the slide. And some of you obviously know us and have our details with you. So feel free to let us know. Feel free to give us some feedback and any other topics that you would like to hear from us. Feel free to get back to us on that too. Again, thank you very much.
Yeah, and feel free, as Nanda said, to reach out to us. You've got our contact details on the slides there. We'll come back to you with more webinars in the near future. Thank you, and good night or good evening or good afternoon, wherever you might be.